everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very excited to share with you a very exciting guest today on the Powercast, the Team Powerhouse. Eric and myself are very excited to be sitting with Mark Doherty, a superstar, an actor extraordinaire. He's on film, he's on TV, and there's a lot more to talk about getting to know Mark as a person and what he brings to the table in this business line of work. First of all, Eric, let's talk about the real estate market for a quick second. Things are still crazy, right? We have New York buyers that are actually going crazy. We just listed a property recently in New Haven, a three-family house, Mark, and we actually had in 24 hours 33 offers. Wow. 33 offers on a house that's a three-family house. Unbelievable. And if I say to you that out of the 33 offers, probably 20 plus were from New York.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
So the New Yorkers are coming in. They're just going crazy for these investment properties.
I'm happy to hear that for your work model. New Haven holds a special place in my heart. As you know, I lived here for 8 years. So
absolutely.
It's a great town.
So going into that, Mark Doherty, we know each other for 27 years.
That's correct.
I was actually 20 years old when I met you.
That's correct.
Which is kind of crazy. So let's talk about the fact of, let's talk more about you. Where you were born and raised?
I was born in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes.
November 17th, 1972.
Happy birthday.
Just passed 49. I don't thank you. I don't know how that happened.
49 going on 39. I love it.
Gosh, I don't know how it happened. But yeah. So I was born in Providence. I grew up in East Providence, city right outside of Providence. Went to school in East Providence, public schools my whole life, sports, athletics. And so that's where I'm from. I was fortunate enough to manage to get good grades and be a three-sport athlete in high school. I ended up going to get accepted to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut.
Very nice.
That's what first brought me to Connecticut. I was a football player there. I led football 3 years there and dabbled in track and field, a little bit of community outreach. And that's why I first discovered the theater, honestly. That was my first exposure. The high school that I went to was a very blue-collar high school, and we didn't have a drama department. And so I really wasn't exposed to things like that in high school. And then I went to Trinity, and I got that exposure, and I ended up doing 3 theater pieces in college.
That's pretty cool, man. I didn't know that. That's actually really the fact that you actually were in college, dabbling, if you will, in theater, yep. Not even playing in the big picture. Maybe mentally would love to be an actor one day, but something that wasn't like, hey, I'm going to graduate college and I'm going to become an actor.
No, I mean, look, it's like when you're young and you say you want to be a professional football player or something like that. I may have said that when I was really young, say, I want to be an actor, or I want to be famous or something like that. But I really do think that the discovery process began in college, and the feeling of being up on stage and entertaining an audience and inspiring an audience, if you will, it really spoke to me, so it really spoke.
Talk about the exposure to acting, if you will. How about a fact of your home life? Tell a little about your home life growing up. Brothers, sisters?
Yeah. So I'm one of 9 children.
9 children.
So I have eight siblings. I have 5 sisters and 3 brothers.
Wow.
My mom was a homemaker. She was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was a salesman. He was in the jewelry industry, and he was a commission-based sales guy. So what he had to endure as far as someone to financially support the household was a pretty daunting task.
9 kids, I would say that's more than a daunting task.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure right there.
Well, and so it's important for me to mention that with that sort of landscape, I was the only boy to go to college. 2 of my brothers were in construction. One of my brothers is in computer stuff. And I had a couple sisters that went to college, but so I was the only boy to go off to college. And so going off to college and graduating from college, and then realizing in college that you want to become an actor, and graduating from college and telling your parents, who are old school parents, one of 9 kids, only boy to go to college, that you want to be an actor, they were like, no, get a real job.
Which you did.
I did, in fact. I did.
So let's talk about that. All right. So you graduate college.
Yeah, right? I graduated school, and I ended up moving back home for about 2 weeks, East Providence. And then I had an opportunity to work at a wonderful organization called Shake a Leg in Newport, Rhode Island. It's a body awareness summer camp for paraplegics and quadriplegics.
Wow.
And so I worked in the kitchen there, and I did some other miscellaneous duties. And the way they divided up the camp, there was 4 weeks for physical activity, 4 weeks for something else, and 4 weeks where they would put up a theatrical production. They brought a professional acting company to come in, and we put up a full-length play with everyone involved. So myself, Quads, Paras, and we all put on a show in front of a live audience for 3 nights.
That's pretty cool.
And we did that, man. And I said to myself, I knew I wanted to be an actor at that point. It's interesting. The president of that acting company had come up to me and he said, so many audience members came up to me and said, who's the new guy? Who's the new part of your acting troupe? And that was such a kind of feeling, euphoric feeling. But it's, that kind of had to get put on the back burner.
You ended up somehow in New Haven. How did that happen?
I did. So I was in Newport working at that summer camp, and a dear friend of mine, Eric Mudry, whom I played college football with for 4 years, vacationed to Newport with his family every summer. And he came and looked me up and he said, look, I'm working as a paralegal at this law firm in New Haven, Connecticut. They're looking for another paralegal. I recommended you. I went in, I interviewed for the job. I got the job. And so I spent 3 years working for this prominent asbestos litigator in New Haven, Connecticut. Jim Early is his name. And that's actually, David, how I met you and your family.
That's right.
The law firm was located in downtown New Haven, Connecticut on Church Street. And your mom and dad's shop, Taft Cosmetics, was located at the beginning of Whaley Avenue. How about that memory?
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. And I used to go in there every day looking for, like a soft drink or something like that, grab a bite to eat or whatnot. And I met your sister, Dorit Kemsley, and I met you and your mom and dad and Debbie. Wonderful family, and we've known each other for 27 years. It's interesting for me to note that when I first moved to Connecticut, I was actually living on the shoreline of Connecticut, first for a month in Madison and then for 4 months in Guilford with roommates, part of the law firm, actually.
Toughing it, huh?
Yeah. Well, I was in Madison. I was living with one of the partners of the law firm in her house. She had a huge house. Linda Lee Ludwig, one of my favorite women on the planet. And
very cool. That's nice of you, man. I like that.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Hopefully you're watching the show and getting just a little plug over here. Very nice stuff.
Yeah. So I lived there for a month, and then I moved in with 2 females. It was kind of like Three's Company. I was Jack Tripper. And I was there, and 2 of the girls, one of the girls was Linda Lee's niece, and one of the girls worked in the law firm as a paralegal as well. I was there for 4 months, and then I stumbled upon an opportunity to get my own apartment in New Haven, Connecticut.
Wait, hold on. Let's just start for a minute. In New Haven, Connecticut, not just in New Haven, Connecticut, but in Little Italy.
Yes, yeah, no.
Literally,
Worcester Square. Worcester Square.
Little Italy.
Yes.
The heart of America in Italian pizza.
Yes, that's correct.
You walk down the street, and you still do today, and all you smell is pizza.
The best pizza in the country.
Best pizza in the world.
Best pizza in the world.
Right?
Dave Portnoy giving you a shout out.
Shout out.
Barstool Sports.
Yes.
El Presidente. But so one day I was out to lunch and I had this opportunity to look at this apartment in New Haven on St. John Street, 327 St. John Street. And it was a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment that was gut renovated. An old Italian husband and wife owned it. And one of the lawyers at the law firm, it was her grandparents. I got introduced to the property, but I couldn't afford it on my income from the law firm alone. So one day we're out at lunch at, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Is it Amato or Mate? There was an Italian restaurant on Worcester Street. It slips me. We were there and we were having this conversation. I'm like, I really want the apartment. And one of the people at the table said, Mark, you can't afford the apartment. And I said, what? And I said, you watch. I got up from the lunch and I walked into Consiglio's restaurant and I walked to the back of the restaurant and I walked up to Laura Consiglio Fantarella. Hi, Laura. And shout out to Consiglio's restaurant.
You got to take a little slower because I want people to understand that this is a lot going on over here.
Yeah.
You literally went from a law firm, boom, into Consiglio's restaurant into New Haven, which is still there today.
Yes.
Laura Consiglio and the family who you became very close with.
Still talk to them to this day.
Right? And go ahead.
So I walk into the restaurant and it's lunchtime and there's not a ton of people in there. And Laura is behind the bar doing administrative stuff. And I said, I need a second job. I will sweep the front walk if that's what it takes, but I have no experience in the restaurant business, but I need a second job. And she hired me. And that's when I started my jaunt.
She sees this good looking guy, tall. He's going to be a lady killer. He's going to draw the people in. And guess what happened? It happened. You started to bring people in. You developed a relationship with this restaurant.
I did.
But the restaurant developed a relationship with you.
Well, it's kind of like the same relationship I developed with your family. I developed with the Consiglio family. Pasquale Consiglio, God rest his soul, taught me how to make my first martini, my first Manhattan, and taught me how to bartend. But I started from the ground up. I started as a busboy and then moved up to a waiter and then a bartender. And then one magical night, I was serving a family, and the gentleman happened to be a VP of sales and marketing for Bayer Pharmaceuticals.
No kidding.
And he and I just hit it off. And, a quick little point I'll make out to the general audience here. There's opportunity in every situation. Nothing as a dead-end job. You can find opportunity in everything. And here I was, a server on a Saturday night, supplementing my income. And I meet this VP of sales and marketing who likes my personality, who finds out that I went to Trinity and I was a biology major, and finds out I was a football player because he played football in college, gets me an interview with Bayer, and this starts a 10-year illustrious career in medical sales. And so it's sort of funny. But
I just want to kind of tap into that for 1 second.
Yeah.
I teach my son all the time. You always, when you walk out of that house, you have to look a certain way. Your presentation, who you are, you never know who you're going to meet any day of the week. Because that person you meet might be the future of your life and your business. You never know. Imagine you look like a schlep that day. You're in a bad mood. You look like crap. This guy wouldn't even give it a chance to you to talk to you. You looked the part. You're professional. You did your job so well. He looked at you, had a conversation with you, and immediately it happened.
Everyone that you meet is part of your journey, even the villains. Even the villains.
That's right.
Everyone is a part of your journey, and you have to be prepared, read the signs. But again, be prepared. And so I jumped on with Bayer, and I had a very great career with Bayer. I won sales awards at every level, et cetera, et cetera.
How many years were you at Bayer?
I was with Bayer for 4.5 years.
Okay.
And then I knew I ultimately, once I got the taste for medical sales, I really enjoyed it. And I knew I ultimately wanted to get to the pinnacle of medical sales, which was medical equipment.
Yes.
And so I started to work with a medical recruiter, someone from Carter McKay. And I devised a plan to ultimately get to medical equipment. And the way to get to medical equipment, because back in those days, pharmaceutical reps weren't considered like real salespeople. And so I developed a plan, and I jumped on with a startup biotech company that put me in the cardiac cath labs. And I started rubbing elbows with the equipment reps. And I really crushed it at it was a company called the Medicines Company out of Parsippany, New Jersey. And I grew the business 20-fold in like 16 months. And a manager for Boston Scientific walked up to me one day and he said, "Look, you've done a really great job building relationships in these accounts. I've seen you work. If you're willing to relocate, I got a job for you in Long Island." And I'll never forget, there's a shout out to Bobby Meehan, the guy who hired me at Bayer, and a great friend and mentor, father figure.
Well, Bobby, good for you, Bobby.
I met up with Bobby in East Haven at the Chili's off of 95. And I said, "Bob, I got this offer to go for this Boston Scientific job in Long Island. I'm going to pick up my life after 8 years in New Haven, Connecticut. It's only a $40,000 base, everything else commission, sky's the limit." And he looked at me, he called me, his nickname for me was the Wild Irish Rose. It's a very cheap wine. And he used to say, "Rose, go there for 6 months. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back here and find another job." And it was one of the best bits of advice I ever got. And I picked up my life from New Haven, Connecticut, and moved to Long Island, living in someone's basement studio apartment. And this was before, what do you call it when you punch in an address and it gives you directions how to get there?
GPS, yeah.
Before GPS. Like, I'm living in Long Island. I'm looking at a map. I got to be at Staten Island University Hospital the next day, and I'm looking at a paper map. Like, how the heck am I going to do this? But I will say this again for the collective audience: if there's a younger group out there, that the parts of your life that are the biggest mystery and the scariest parts are the times of the greatest adventure and the greatest growth. I always reflect on those parts of my life and say, like, boy, what a journey it's been. So I spent 4 years with Boston Scientific. I took over the worst territory in the country. I was the youngest kid in the sales force at 30 years old. And I grew the business in a year and a half. I became a top 20 sales rep in the United States of America. And I kept all the contracts for 2.5 years. I covered Long Island, Staten Island, and Queens.
Wow.
Blew out the money. And I'm telling y'all this for a reason. I don't have any more money. I'm broke. Actors are broke. But I was a kid at 31 years old who was making $500,000 a year with an $8,000 Rolex in an apartment in Murray Hill in Manhattan, coming from East Providence, which doesn't happen.
Hold on, just for 1 second. Already, there's something that you have to have inside you.
It's called balls.
You're right. There's something you have to have inside you that's called balls. That's guts. It's courage. It's desire. But that's something that you were kind of brought up with, right?
Well,
that's something. Your dad was a salesman,
yeah.
Right? You had that, and just talking about you right now. Your dad was a salesman. He had 9 people to take care of, his 9 kids plus his wife.
Correct.
And here you are. You go out and you get this job that everybody failed at, They brought you in, realistically, and you became the top 20 in the country. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But it's because of what you have inside you.
What?
You're ready? Hold on, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Please, no, please.
Your why in life was huge. You had a desire. Your why was what? To be the best, to make a lot of money. What was the reason?
So I got to give you a story to answer that question.
I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I beg that question. A year before I got a job at Bayer, I got an opportunity to interview with a very conservative company called Wyeth Ayers Laboratories. I was a 23-year-old wet behind the ears kid, and I made it to my third interview, and I sat down with an area director by the name of Tony Buglione. And I mentioned that name because I'm going to give you props, Tony. And we sat down, and we sat down, and he verbally berated me for 2.5 hours. I was a little kid. I didn't know what I was doing. Asking me questions like, pick a product and tell me how you'd sell it. And I would say something like, I pick cigarettes, and I'd have James Dean as my poster boy. And he said, well, most people begin smoking cigarettes in their teens, and my kids don't know anything about James Dean except for Jimmy Dean sausages. And I would respond and say, it's not about knowing James Dean. It's the image. He's the image of cool. Everyone thinks smoking is cool. And we went back and forth like that for 2.5 hours. Anyway, I didn't get the job, but I did get feedback. And the feedback was he told someone who told me that I wasn't polished enough to be in medical sales. Now, Tony, if I ever run into you again, I'm going to hug you and buy you a beer.
Hug and kiss right there on the spot.
No, because you lit the fire in my belly. It's just when someone tells you that you can't do something, that you can't be an actor, that you can't be a successful medical salesman, that you can't do this, that you can't be a great bartender, that you can't be I just love proving people wrong.
Amen.
I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios try to be the best at everything, and they usually are. And it's just my mentality. I just try and go after the brass ring all the time. So
that's a phenomenal story. We're gonna have to make sure we get these people to hear this story and tag them in this post over here later on, Jonathan. So let's go into your jobs prior to acting. You were in medical sales for how long?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day, I remember you coming to our family and saying, hey, listen, and we used to sit down at dinner on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Shabbat dinner, right?
Shabbat.
And you would do these acting. You do me a favor. Do for me one Al Pacino. Come on. All right.
De Niro.
Do De Niro.
What?
All right. So
Bobby, no disrespect.
You would do all these little minuets, if you will, of acting.
Yeah.
And we always knew you kind of had that gift. And you came in, you said, I'm going to go be an actor. And I'm going to give all this up. And when you put your mind at something, it's 100% there.
Correct.
And your why becomes something so huge that it drives you to be the best you can be.
Well, look, and so the message for the audience and the message for everyone in this room, you too, young man, the message for everyone in this room is this isn't a dress rehearsal. We're going to die someday. We get one life.
Speak for yourself.
God willing, there's an afterlife, and that's what I do believe.
Amen.
But in this human life, in this human journey, my personal belief is that we come from a spiritual place. We're here to learn things and help each other and do all those things, and then we go back to a spiritual place. And I think Stephen Covey said that, 7 Habits of Successful People. But this isn't a dress rehearsal, man. And this is why the way I look at life, like go after everything that you want. Why play it safe? So many people, I heard this awesome quote one time. So many people tiptoe safely through life to get to death.
It's true.
Why would you do that? I'm not saying, go out and be a crazy man, but I'm saying go after what you want, go after everything that you want. And although I was at the pinnacle of medical sales and I was doing really well and I was living a cool life, it was a very cool life. And
you were a rock star.
And I was proud of the accomplishments that I made. I was missing, there was a void in my life.
I'm going to stop you for 1 second.
Please.
This next void. I want to say, first of all, again, thank you so much for joining us today here at Mark Doherty. We have so many things to talk about. Very exciting. I want to remind you, please, if you're not already on, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, please. Team Powerhouse Real Estate. We're also on Spotify. Every show is on Spotify for you to listen to at some later date if you haven't listened to already. We've got 23 shows already that we've done. And please watch us. Go and subscribe to our TikTok channel. We have lots of great things for you to see on TikTok. Team Powerhouse Real Estate over there. Team Powerhouse Sells on TikTok. Team Powerhouse Real Estate on Instagram. Facebook. Please subscribe to our different channels. You're going to go onto our wheel that spins around to have a chance to win a beautiful tumbler by Heather Knotts, who makes these beautiful things, which we're grateful to have. By the way, cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers.
And
Chock full
Eric.
of candy, by the way.
Spotify.
And
Spotify needs some
Salute.
love. No, Spotify needs some love.
so definitely get on Spotify. Download Spotify. Subscribe to our Spotify. Become part of our Spotify crew. And watch and listen to, or not watch, but listen
You can
to our
listen to
shows.
our stuff on the go, which is the good part. If you're driving,
You're in the car.
listen
That's
to
right.
it.
You know, it's funny. I listen to our shows myself all the time just because I need to hear what we're talking about, how we did things, and how we become better. And if you're out there in business world, and I'm sure as an actor, let's go with that back to you, you probably watch yourself over and over to watch what you've done to how to make it better next time. So now you go from being,
They found it.
right? Excellent, Eric, on Spotify right there. You go from being this medical salesperson. You decide, I'm going to go into acting. You call it. I remember you talking to our family, and you say, I'm going to be an actor. And we're like, okay, all right. And what happens next? Where do you go?
Now, no connections, right? I mean,
No,
you didn't have
zero connections.
Anybody in the business that
nope.
you could bounce anything off of?
Zero training, zero connections, nothing. And so I was inspired in 2005. I was watching HBO, and I was watching that movie with Ryan Reynolds, Just Friends, cute little film. And when the film was over, and I don't know what they call this, but I call it like an end around. Like when they end the film, before they start the next film, it's like commercials for HBO.
Right.
And there was a song that played called Eyes by Rogue Wave. I'm getting a shout out to Rogue Wave because that song inspired me and changed my life.
Wow.
And it was just like something that kind of hit me. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then New Year's Eve, 2005, I was deathly ill. And I didn't end up going out.
Wow.
And so I stayed in on New Year's Eve. And I said, I'm making a New Year's resolution. I'm going to do something different in the new year because all I do is work 18-hour days at Boston Scientific, and I'm on pager all the time in this, whatnot. And so I said, I'm either going to take a real estate class or an acting class. And I took an acting class. I took a class
choice.
at NYU, and I met one of my mentors. And the power of a coach is a really important thing. When someone believes in you, that's someone that's not your mom or your dad or your brother or sister, there's something really special and powerful about that. And I went in. This was the Fourth Wall Actors Work. So he asked me. I went in for the class, and at the fourth class, he asked me to read some scripts for him. And then he said, "I run this workshop called the Fourth Wall Actors Workshop. I'd like to invite you into it." And then I did that, and it was a 12-week thing where you get a comedic scene, a dramatic scene, and you rehearse for 12 weeks, and then it goes up at the Producers Club in Hell's Kitchen for 3 nights in front of a live audience. And I remember being scared shitless the first night, the opening night, but it really went well. And his name is Lawrence Gewirtz. He was a graduate of the Yale School of Drama. Pay homage to Yale, New Haven, Connecticut.
Very nice.
And he said the 8 greatest words that I've ever heard in my life.
Now say them slowly, please.
I think you should just go for it. I think you should walk away from your $500,000 a year job and just go for it. You're that good. And I was like, well, I don't know. But then I got headshots, and I'm like, maybe I'll do it. I don't know. And then January rolled around, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I called up my boss at Boston Scientific, and he picked up the phone, and I said, Larry, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. And it was just like silent for 30 seconds. What?
Did you tell him what you were going to do?
I said, I'm walking away from this to pursue an acting career. And, and then obviously, I thought I was nuts. And when I made a phone call to my family, my mother wasn't a believer for 10 whole years. She would always be like, Marcus, she had that Rhode Island accent. Marcus, you have your great resume in medical sales. You can always go back to medical sales, and you'll go back to medical sales. But it was that because people were like, okay, you're not in the union. You don't have an agent. You don't have a manager. You don't have acting skills or classes or degree or blah, 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 connections. And there's piece by piece, I used all the savings that I had from medical sales for the next 6 years to take as many classes as I could and get in front of as many casting directors as I could. And then I booked my first big role in that first year in 2007.
Which was?
A beautiful film about a young man suffering from Asperger's syndrome called Adam, starring Hugh Dancy and Rose Byrne, 2 big stars, Peter Gallagher, Frankie Faison from The Wire. And a funny story, I'll give you a little anecdote to that. So I booked that in the spring, and then I ended up shooting that in the fall. And the morning of, I took a train out to Brooklyn, and I came into about 2 blocks, within 2 blocks to set, and I'm like, I can't do this. I'll just call someone and tell them I got deathly ill and I can't do this. And one of the crew members saw me, and they were like, Mark? Or maybe it was the AD or something like that. And then I was like, caught. And I showed up, and but we spent the whole afternoon. It was me working with Hugh Dancy and Rose Byrne, doing this scene. And that film Taft-Hartley'd me into SAG. What does that mean? So in order to get into the SAG union, you either have to get 3 waivers or you get Taft-Hartley'd into SAG. What that is if a director sees every SAG actor and says, none of them are the right fit, but that one guy over there is, but he's not in SAG, he can choose you, and then you become what they call SAG eligible. You get Taft-Hartley into SAG. So in my first year, I booked a feature film, supporting role. It went to Sundance and won an award, and it got me into SAG. And I thought, maybe I made the right decision.
Amen. Amen.
And then things just started to roll, man. And
So let's talk about what was the next. Can you talk about? Do you remember what order? I mean, you've done quite a few things.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of TV and film work. I've also done a lot of theater work. It's important for me to mention. I worked at the Abingdon Theater 3 times. Stuff that was reviewed by the New York Times, and I'm really proud of that work. Live work, getting on stage. I was a lead role in an equity showcase for the Fringe International Festival. I also produced and starred in my own 2-man show, which I'm very proud of because it was me and another guy on stage for 2 hours with limited props in front of a live studio audience. It's one of the hardest things to do in the business aside from stand-up comedy. But so I did a lot of that. And then, after the film Adam, it just sort of rolled with I did Law and Order Criminal Intent with Jeff Goldblum. And then I did Law and Order with Jeremy Sisto and Anthony Anderson. And then it was smaller roles. I did, I'm trying to think of some of my other credits. I can't.
Well, let's talk about some of those. I know you did. Well, so with Americans,
small role in the Americans, yes.
I watched a lot of these shows on TV. I'm one of those, I guess I love the cop shows.
Yep.
Or the investigation shows.
Procedural dramas is what they call them. Yeah. Procedural dramas.
I can't say procedural dramas.
Yeah.
I love those shows.
Yeah.
And I watched this show called The Americans,
Yep.
which takes place back in the 80s
Yep.
with communism. And I'm watching this show, and oh my God, there's Mark Doherty. And I nearly fell out of my chair. I jumped up oh my God, that's Mark on TV.
Yeah.
But then it happens again.
Yeah.
He's on Shades of Blue with none other than one of the most beautiful and talented women in the world, in my opinion.
One of the biggest international stars in the world. Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez.
Now, that when I saw you on Shades of Blue,
Yep.
I seriously started to scream. I started screaming for my wife. I was like, Val, where are you, Val? I'm like, Mark Doherty is on Shades of Blue getting his ass handed to him by Jez.
Yeah, she beat me up pretty bad.
And it was amazing because just watching you in character, it just I know you from just hanging out
Sure.
to the same person that's on TV, and you're making it and you're doing it. It was an amazing role. You were on the Blindspot.
Yeah.
You were on Blacklist.
Yep, I was on Blacklist, Blindspot, Blue Bloods.
These are all shows that I watch.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah. No, so yeah, I've done
I love Blue Bloods.
decent. I did 2-day guest star on Blue Bloods, 5-day guest star on Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez. I've been very fortunate. I work hard at it, and I have to thank my manager, Jocelyn Herman, who's been with me since the beginning, 14 years. Took me on when I had 0 credits. She's family to me. Her husband Michael's family to me, and her kids are family to me. And I keep telling her, and I keep promising her that I'm going to make her the most famous manager in the world because I want to be a big star.
You know what? To believe in this guy here is easy when you meet him because he's very real. He's the kind of guy that is down to earth. He speaks from the heart, and his natural personality is what people love to see and what they want to hear.
Thank you.
It's a fact. I mean, it's been something that when you get to know you, we sat down and talked for a little while.
Yep.
Eric got to meet you for the first time,
Yep.
and you guys hit it off like your best friends.
Yep. Well, look.
I met him an hour ago.
He's easy.
I love this guy.
Eric is he's a super personality plus kind of guy, funny, and you're down to earth as well. I mean, it's easy to talk to you. So that was an easy fit. That was an easy fit. So that was nothing extraordinary that I did. He's just easy to get along with. But
you just have this gift of personality.
Well, my sister Pam said something to me. I was in Miami 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. No, last week. I forget. And she was like, Mark, if you had a superpower, it would be your personality. And I was like, well, thank you for saying that. But I like to think that people, when they're around me, they understand that I lead from here. I lead from here. It doesn't matter what your background is, race, religion, ethnicity, sexual preference. I don't care about any of that. If we hit it off, we hit it off, and I lead from my heart.
You know what? It's interesting you say that. In our careers, Eric, in our business. We teach and coach the team and every agent on our team. You talk from here, you build a relationship with somebody, and that is the most important piece of the foundation in our business is building relationships.
So you talk from here and you act from here.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
You act from here.
Act from here.
So
Because-
I mean, it's not that it's an act, but
It's-
my actions are heart driven. So
Absolutely.
The biggest lesson that I learned from medical sales, because in corporate America, people can often be greedy. I hate to say that, but they're always looking for the short sell. In sales, if you want to be successful, short steps, long vision. You don't want to sell someone one product. You want to make them a lifetime customer.
Hold
We
on a
got,
second.
we
I
got a
think
question
We got some questions from the
sorry.
audience
From-
watching. But I'm sorry.
from Guess.
Let's go with Patrick Pagano.
Yeah, he's
Hey, Patrick, who knows Mark Doherty on a personal level as
Yep.
well.
Patrick and I have known each other a very long time.
well. Patrick, he probably knows the question, but maybe he's asking for the audience's sake. What's your favorite role you've done and why?
Actually, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. That's actually a great question, Patrick. So we're going to jump over to that. Let's go.
So there's 4 roles that come to mind. 2 of them are theatrical roles. One, I played a former pianist who was an alcoholic and had to support his family, and he had to go back to doing construction. That was an equity showcase I did that I mentioned earlier before, the Fringe Festival. I also did a theater piece.
What was it called? Just for the audience to know.
Love at the End of Time. Adam Swartz, the writer and director of that play, I have made my commitment to him, and I promised him that we are going to put that up in an off-Broadway venue in Manhattan someday because I'm committed to getting that on stage again. There's a play that I did at the Abington Theater called March Madness, where I played a jerk-off salesman. I can't say it any other way. I was an idiot sales manager, but I was really happy with the performance. I would literally be on stage and I'd hear people in the audience say, "He's such a jerk," and things like that, literally while I was performing.
Which is exactly what you made it believable.
Which is what you want.
It takes a really good actor to make the audience hate you.
Hate you, yes. Thank you for saying that. And I guess the 2 other things were I did 3 weeks on the Amazing Spiderman 2 with Andrew Garfield and Jamie Foxx.
That's pretty amazing.
And that was fun because it was a real rush. I got to do my own car stunt in the film, which got cut. And it happens a lot in film and TV. But I did my own car stunt, and literally they had reconstructed Times Square in Long Island. They had spent $26 million recreating Times Square in Long Island because you couldn't really shoot it in Times Square, in the real Times Square. Right. And I literally show up, and the stunt coordinator comes over to me. He's like, "You comfortable driving a car?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, you're going to do the own stunt." And I'm in the back of the thing, and I'm with a police stunt car, and I have the stunt driver here with me, and she's teaching me how to skid out. And literally at that moment, doing that, and then working with Jamie and Andrew. So that was really exciting.
Jamie Foxx.
Yeah. And it was cool. I mean, that was a real hush-hush project. They were calling it London Calling. I'll tell you a funny casting story. So I'm at Kathleen Chopin's office in Koreatown in Manhattan, and I walk into the waiting room, and there's 32 guys that look like me. And we're all sitting. No joke. We're all sitting in our chairs, and we're getting called in one by one into the casting room office. And the walls are really thin, so you hear all the actors saying the same thing: "Down on the ground and open fire." And then the actor would walk out, and one other actor would walk in. "Down on the ground." It was a very funny thing. I ended up booking it, and my manager called me up, and she said, "You booked London Calling?" And I'm like, "Cool." And she's like, "You want to know what it really is? It's the Amazing Spider-Man 2." And I was geeked out. I still receive residual checks today. We shot that in 2013, and I still receive residual checks.
Can you explain what a residual check is? Because I know there's a lot of actors who go on TikTok and stuff and show their residual checks. So can you explain that and explain how you still get those and stuff?
That's a very good question. Let me just finish my last thought.
Of course.
The other show was Shades of Blue. I got a chance to work for 5 days with Jennifer Lopez. I was a top of show. That means my name goes to the top of the credits of the show. 5-day guest star. My character arced the whole episode. Did my own stunts, and it was really an amazing time.
And I will just say again, if you haven't seen Shades of Blue, I think it ran for 3 seasons.
Yeah, 3 seasons.
Gotta watch it. All right, go ahead.
Episode 1, season 3.
Yes.
So residual checks are, so when you book a job as an actor, you get paid for the actual shoot time. So Shades of Blue, I went in for 5 days. I got paid whatever I got paid. And then your agent and manager take out a certain percentage, and then Uncle Sam takes out their percentage, and then you get your money. Every time that airs again, the first time it airs, I believe you get the full Monty, again, you get the full payout again, and then it slowly, incrementally goes down each and every time it airs. So that's what a residual check is. So it's residuals from every time it airs.
So if it shows 1,000 times, I mean, how does that can't residually down to zero? I mean, it's got to be something to cap off at some point, I'm guessing.
Honestly, I'll be curious to see, like for instance, let's use an example like Mariska Hargitay, right? So she's been on Law and Order SVU for 20 years.
Tell me the name of the girl again.
Mariska Hargitay.
Okay.
She's the lead on Law and Order SVU.
Excellent.
So so she gets residuals every time reruns come on. She gets paid for the shoot. She gets paid for reruns when they come on. And if that show goes into syndication, for instance, like Seinfeld, like Jerry Seinfeld still receives money all the time because the show's in syndication. That's how actors make the majority of their money. It's that kind of way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Good question.
That was a great question. Thank you.
All right. So let's go back into some more questions about acting.
And thank you for that question, Patrick.
Yeah, great. You threw me for a curveball, Pat. I wasn't ready for that question yet. We're kind of going in order over here. Some questions I wrote down. I didn't want to mark
Question thief.
What's that?
He's the question thief.
The question thief.
I have
Let's
a few
see.
questions too, if you don't mind me
Yeah,
asking.
please, Jonathan, go ahead.
You go first, but I have a few later.
Awesome.
Let's see. Who are your greatest role models as an actor first? I'm sorry, Eric.
When you say role models, you mean like I want to have their career, or I love their work?
I look up to them as a role model in the acting career, and then B, I'm going to say to you that you want to be as good as or better, and then who you may want to work with one day. Who would love to work with?
Well, there's a lot of actors I'd like to work with. There's so many good character actors out there, and character actors specifically is who I would look at. Christian Bale comes to mind. Matt Damon comes to mind. Johnny Depp comes to mind.
Batman.
Gary Oldman comes to mind.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
Who's the Austrian guy that was in?
I'm the
The
worst.
Austrian I know is Arnold.
Waltz is his last name.
I couldn't do it.
Christoph Waltz.
Okay.
Christoph Waltz. He was in Inglourious Bastards. Val Kilmer. I mean, I don't know if he's doing much work later, anymore. But I think the actor whose career I'd like to have the most, I think it'd be Regina King. I know that's a strange answer, but Regina King. Look, I've been following Regina King's career since she was a child. She was a child actress on 227. I used to watch it on Saturday nights with Marla Gibbs, and Regina King has never stopped working. She's in everything. She is a hustler in Hollywood. So I'd love to have that kind of career, but I think she can still live a normal life. People would recognize her certainly, but I think she could still have a normal existence. I'd love to have a career like Alec Baldwin. I mean, Alec Baldwin and Alec Baldwin approached. I'll tell you a funny story. I'm also in childcare, so I've done a lot of jobs throughout the course of my acting career, and I've been a successful nanny. I've been a successful sports coach.
Currently are still.
So still do both. I'm an acting coach. I wear a lot of different hats. And so one day I'm walking with 4 kids, 2 of them mine, 2 of them their friends, and they're misbehaving. And
When you say they're not yours, but they're
the kids that I watch.
yes,
I am single with no children.
and looking in case you're out there.
No, I'm looking to stay single. I'm just kidding. And so I'm walking, and the kids are misbehaving, and I turn around, and I'm like, "Look, you guys got to get your stuff together." And I turn back around, and Alec Baldwin's right in my face, and he says, "Are these 4 kids yours?" And I said, "No. I just watched. These 2 are mine. These 2 aren't. I'm their nanny." He said, "Oh, you're the nanny." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I just had my 4th or 5th, and I'm 60." And I said, "I know. Congratulations." I said, "You look great." I said, "I love your work. What are you working on?" He said, "Well, they're trying to pay me the big bucks to go out to Vancouver, but I don't want to leave my family and stuff like that." And then he stops for a quick second, and he goes, "Are you an actor?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an actor." He goes, "You look like an actor. Alec, good luck." And then he runs away. And then 3 or 4 Upper East Side moms run over to me, and they're like, "You know Alec Baldwin?" And I'm like, "No." He just started talking to me. I don't know.
How long ago was this?
That was a couple years ago. It was before the pandemic.
Do you know what I'm going to?
But so he was. I just want to say he was a very sweet guy. He gets a bad rap. He's a wonderful guy and a wonderful performer. And let me finish that question, Dave. I'm sorry to cut you off. Alec Baldwin can do anything. He's got some of the best monologues in film history. He can do comedic, dramatic. He's funny on TV. He's hosted SNL the most. He did Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway. Alec Baldwin is one of my favorite actors. So that's who I looked up. That's who I look up to, and I love to have a career like Alec.
That's a pretty awesome answer, man. And Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about the stunts because you said you do your own stunts. Can you tell us about that? Have you gotten hurt doing your own stunts? And how'd you get into doing your own stunts?
So I don't even talk about, like, if you look at my IMDb page, it says stunts 0. I don't even list them on there. It's just sort of been a lucky accident. Like, I've just fallen into them. Like, when I was on the set of Spider-Man 2, they were like,
Into stunts.
yeah, when I was on the set for Spider-Man 2, they're like, would you be interested in doing your own stunt, the car stunt? And I'm like, heck yeah. The only thing I haven't done, the Americans, when that building blew up, believe it or not, that's a stunt. And so you and I talked about this earlier, different degrees of stunts. So you could have like a car stunt like Spider-Man. The stunt for the Americans was standing by a car and watching the house blow up. The stunt coordinator came over to me and said, we're going to have you step out because if some embers come this way, we don't want you to get hit with the embers, which I was kind of bummed out about. If I had done that stunt, I would have done all my own stunts. But a stunt can also be when Jennifer Lopez is running me into a squad car 30 times.
Now, when you say running it, you mean shoving you into the back seat?
No.
Oh.
The car's driving up on the curb, and she's throwing me and I was hitting my head on the.
Okay, so she's trying to apprehend you.
Yes.
Okay, I thought like she cuffed you, tossing you into the car.
Like literally, like, and it's on my acting reel on my IMDb page, but like running me into the car, and so I sort of just fell into them, and.
Jennifer
I bet you enjoyed every minute.
I did.
But she is no joke. She is very tough.
She is
not a docile, light, softy.
Well, she's a dancer, so
she is
athletic.
That's right.
Very athletic.
She's been doing it a long time. It was surreal for me because here I am on set with J-Lo as a star on the show with her, and I used to be in my college dorm watching her on In Living Color as one of the fly girls.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow, but. She's a consummate professional, very sweet. First one on set in the morning, last one to leave. Hard worker. She's the real deal, and that's why she's so successful.
So, what? One of the questions that David asked was about who somebody that you would want to work with.
Yeah.
I was leaning towards director. What director is it that you would like most to work with? I mean, like Pete Berg is amazing.
I'm scared of Pete Berg.
Are you really?
Pete Berg's a tough guy.
Yes.
I'm going to answer the question this way. I think this is the fair way to answer the question because I've worked with good directors and bad directors. I want to work with any actor that knows how to talk to actors. I'm sorry. I want to work with any director that knows how to talk to actors. That's a gift. You look at an actor and you're like, oh my God, you're so dramatic. Is this really that hard? It's funny, man. You learn your lines, you show up on set and they start to mic you up and then the cameras come up and like, oh my God, this is the real deal. Now you start to get nervous. It's like, whoa. I'll tell you an anecdote. I was shooting Law & Order SVU. I did a two-day guest star on the show, and we were shooting like we were at an airport. It wasn't a real airport. And it's me, Mariska Hargitay, and Kelly Haddish on the top of the escalator. It's 8 o'clock at night. This is the third scene of the day, and they have 2 more scenes to do. So people are like, we need to get moving, or we're going to be here till 4 in the morning. And I'm standing up there, and I'm looking down at a sea of 100 PAs.
What are PAs?
Production assistants.
Okay.
And the director's down there, and everyone's looking up at you like, and I have all the lines. Everyone's looking up at you like, please get your lines right. It's a nerve-wracking thing, to do this stuff. So I say all that to say, because it's an important question. You work with those actors, like the actor for Shades of Blue. John's last name is slipping me, but he was just the way he talked to me. I showed up that first day, and you can obviously imagine I'm nervous. It's Jennifer Lopez. Oh, and by the way, that first day that I'm there, I'm noticing there's like 20 camera people here. I'm like, who the heck are these people? It was paparazzi. I had never been on a set with paparazzi before. And I'm like, oh, this is all I need, right? I'm a nervous wreck. And John walks over to me, the director. As soon as he sees me, he comes over and says, oh, Mark, great to see you. We're so lucky to have you. Wait a minute. Did you say you're so lucky to have me? And the way he would talk to me, like, Mark, and he would come over to me and like talk to me one-on-one. Like, do you think we could, how do you feel about this? What's your take on this? Asking my professional take on things. And he's just like, wow. Really? And I'll tell you, when you rap, they call it rapping when you're done. The last day I rapped, I'm in the car with Jen, and we're shooting our last scene. And in between takes, I just leaned over and I said, Jen, I really enjoyed working with you. Thank you for the opportunity. And she said, thank you, babe. And I get out of the car, and usually when you rap, they say, Mark Doherty's rapped, and the whole cast and crew starts to clap. And John beelines over to me, and he hugs me, and he said, you see what you did right there? I couldn't do that. I'm too scared to do what you just did. And you're just like, wow. I went to my dressing room, closed the door, and I hear a knock on my dressing room door. I'm changing. I'm like, hello? And like, yeah, it's so-and-so. I'm the head writer for the show. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll be right there. And then I'll dress up and go out. I said, hey, man, the head writer. I opened the door and he's like, I just wanted to say, man, you did a really great, the head writer of the show. You did a really great job. But I was thinking when he said that, which is a wonderful compliment because that's never happened. That's the only time it's happened in my career. I thought to myself, I didn't say this to him, but I got to give a lot of that credit to John because he was a director that knew how to talk to me. Mm-hmm. It's a big part of it. This is why a lot of actors that go into direct and become great directors because they're actors. They know how to talk to actors.
Started as actors.
That's right.
That's a very interesting point.
Ben Affleck is a great director. I like his acting work as well. I think he's a wonderful actor. But he's a great director, and that's because he was an actor. He knows how to talk to people. So, sorry.
Now, aren't a lot of the SVU episodes directed by some of the cast?
They are, in fact.
Yeah,
they are, in fact. And former actors of just other shows.
Yeah.
Because I've auditioned for a lot of the Law and Order shows, and but you'll see familiar faces like actors from the 80s.
Ice-T has directed a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's also important to note, if there are actors in the audience, you can't get discouraged. You're gonna get your door slammed in your face a lot. I think I went in for Blue Bloods to 8 producer sessions. Producer sessions is the last line. You go in for the initial audition, they call you back. You go in to meet with the producer and the director and the writer, blah, 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 8 times before I booked. And you have to understand that as an actor, a lot of things are out of your control. You can go in and crush in the room, but they could say, well, we want a blonde guy. He's too tall for the co-star. We need someone with green eyes. Blah, blah, blah. We want someone of a different race or those kinds of things. And those are things that are out of your control. So as actors, I always say this, control the controllables. What do I mean by that? Be on time for your appointments. Be courteous and polite to everyone in the room. Be prepared.
So on that note, we were also talking earlier that that there's a bit of a typecast, especially when you have a certain look to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and you and I were joking about this in the room. I got all my actor training from sales because sales and acting is the same thing. In sales, you sell a product. In acting, you sell the truth under false pretense. Everything is about being truthful, right? So we're selling a product. So when I coach young actors, I say, okay, first and foremost, we have to figure out what you are as a product. We use me as an example. I'm a 40s age range, so 40 to 49, blue collar. What do I mean by that? So I went to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. I was in medical. I was a biology major for 4 years. I was in medical sales, high-level medical sales for 10 years. I know all the medical jargon. As soon as I walk into an audition room, they say, cop fireman, construction worker, priest. They never say doctor, lawyer. They never say finance guy or politician. They just don't. Military guy. And that just is what that is. So if you know what you are, again, I've played a doctor on stage. Of course, I can do other things. But you want to grab the low-hanging fruit first to get your credits, right? And so you know that. So then you set up your sales tools along that type and age range. So if I do a headshot, it'll be a 5-day scruff. Very blue collar, right? Dark shirt to match my dark eyes. That kind of thing. And so we set up our sales tools, our headshot, our resume, our reel, which is a digital resume. It's scenes of work that you've done compiled together in a video format. And then you go out and you sell the product that way.
Let me ask you a question, Jonathan. While he's talking about reels, there is a great reel he has from IMDb. Can you play that for the crowd in the background for us?
Yeah, sure.
Chief Benton.
You must be still a kid.
Yes, sir.
Wallace speaks so highly of you, I thought I might need a ladder to shake your hand.
He's a great chief. I just try and do right by him.
I expect nothing less. You come directly from shift?
Yes, I did.
You might want to alter your schedule.
Well, I probably can't do.
Cadets! This is your instructor, Stella Kidd. When she says jump, you don't say anything because you will already be jumping. Got it?
Yes, Chief! Relax, we're here to help you.
Yeah, I can tell right off.
We're investigating the murders at the Sunrise Cafe.
I never heard of the place.
Really? Because we heard you and your friend Morris meeting a cop named Parker there the other night.
Don't worry. I don't remember any of that. You have my word.
You're gonna have to trust us.
Yeah, Morris trusted that other cop, and now both of them are dead.
Orlando, you're gonna have to come with us.
I told Morris to let the cops clean up their own mess, but he wouldn't listen. And that one cop sounded desperate.
In the car now.
It's not my job to trust you. It's to make decisions that keep my officers safe.
I just wanted an opportunity.
You don't get an opportunity to do anything without my say.
I just wanted you to know that we knew the guy, that he had mental problems.
Which makes the situation even more volatile.
I knew he didn't have a gun.
And how did you know that? Was it your spidey sense?
I knew I could talk him down.
You think because your last name is Reagan that you can disobey orders and do whatever it is you want?
I think I can do whatever I want to do because you're clearly a jackass.
Hey, he didn't mean that.
Now you have your girlfriend sticking up for you?
What did you just say?
A lot of people are worried about you. Out here, you're all alone. They're worried about what you're thinking, what you might do. I found this in your medicine cabinet. Has something been keeping you up at night? I know Jake had trouble sleeping. Isn't that right?
Come on, she doesn't know anything.
Why don't you just take a few of them and rest?
No, I don't want to. She doesn't know anything.
I promise. It'll help. You lying cop son of a bitch. I told you, if one single policeman tries something funny here, there's
no
gonna
longer
be...
in charge.
I demand safe transport. And so the thing I wanted to add was when I'm coaching young actors, a lot of these young actors that are in the business, artists fail because they're not taught these things in 2-year conservatories, in BFA programs and MFA programs. BFA is a Bachelor of Film Arts. MFA is a Master of Film Arts. They're taught craft and things like that, but they're not taught the business of show. And what do I mean by that? In order to survive, you have to understand that you have to control things in your life. No toxic relationships, affordable housing, affordable transportation.
Good realtor.
A great survival job. You have to do a survival job that you love. Like if you're a bartender and you hate being a bartender, you're going to hate your life. I love children. Childcare is perfect for me. I spend a lot of time doing childcare. Plus, I get to test out a lot of my comedic material.
By the way, speaking of that, let's just touch on that for a quick second.
Yep.
When you're not acting,
Yep.
you're taking care of kids, literally and physically. You're taking care of kids. You're a manny.
I'm a manny and I'm a sports coach. That's correct.
That's in the
Now, when you say sports coach, elaborate.
My specialties are football. I played baseball through high school, so baseball and track and field. But the age range I teach in is like 3 to 10. So 3-year-olds I could certainly teach hockey, soccer, volleyball, things of that nature.
And where are you doing this at, if you don't mind?
In Central Park.
We talked about a handful of items over here. Their career is just the beginning stage of your career, because I know that more is to come. And with that being said, I know that you'd probably like to be a director one day.
Yeah, I would. I'd like to move into directing. I think I'd be a pretty good director because I'd be empathetic to actors.
Absolutely right. Gone through the roles and the scripts. What would be your dream role?
Oh God, to play Chief Brody in Jaws.
I'd
I'd love to be Roy Schneider.
because that would imply that there would be a Jaws remake.
I wouldn't want there to be a Jaws remake, but
Please
I'm saying a wish list. If I could have any role ever, I would have liked to have played Chief Brody in Jaws. It's one of my favorite movies. It's the greatest horror movie of all time.
You do good.
Oh, Roy Schneider's great. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful role. It's such a rich role. I love it.
All right. Tell me, what are you working on 2022? Everybody paying attention over here. 2022 coming out. Mark Doherty, what's going on in your life?
All right.
First off, is anything in the can?
No.
Nothing's in the can?
No.
Okay.
No. So I have 3 projects that I'm attached to in 2022. One is based on the book Hollywood Godfather, My Life in the Movies and the Mob by Gianni Russo.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know Gianni Russo, Mr. Russo played Carlo Rizzi in The Godfather. He was Connie's husband.
I can't wait.
Got Santino killed. And so he wrote a book about his life. It's a fantastical book. Here's a man who slept with Marilyn Monroe, learned how to sing from Frank Sinatra, learned how to act from Marlon Brando, had a hit put on by Pablo Escobar, laundered money through the Vatican. The list goes on, but really a truly amazing story. And just circle back here, we talked about this opportunity and everything. I met Mr. Russo in Central Park.
Wow.
I was waiting for my kids to show up, my childcare kids. It was during the pandemic of all things. And here I see this guy walk up in a full white linen suit with a big gold chain and a cane with a lion on it. And I thought, oh my God, this guy looks like a gangster. And so he looks at me, and I look at him, and I say, good morning. And he says, good morning. He says, what do you do here? I said, I take care of kids. I'm a sports coach and a nanny. And then I kind of lean in, and I'm like, I'm also an actor. He said, me too. I said, really? Have I seen you in anything? He said, well, I got a couple Oscars to my name. I said, I'm so sorry I don't recognize you. He said, I played Gianni Russo. I played Carlo Rizzi in The Godfather. We start to yuck it up. One thing leads to another. I say, hey, can I pass along my acting reel to you? He gives me his email. He watches it, says he loves my work, sends it to his company in L.A. He says, someone gave me a break to get into The Godfather because he had no acting experience. It's my turn to give back.
Amen.
And so they're going to –
oh my God,
the book
so
is going to be built into a 10-part miniseries for Paramount+. I haven't gotten the official offer yet, but I talked to Mr. Russo a week and a half ago, and there are rumors that I might play James Constantino, Corleone, or something else. We'll see.
I love it.
So that's number one. Number two, there was a book called Run to the Roar, by Coach Paul Asciante. Paul Asciante is the most winningest coach in collegiate history. He is the squash coach at my alma mater, Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. And he wrote that book as an homage to his son, which is being adapted into a screenplay. I read the screenplay. It's one of the best screenplays I've read in the last 15 years. It's going to be an indie biopic shooting out of Hartford, Connecticut in 2022. Again, unofficially attached. I also raised $250,000 for the movie, so I will have a producer credit on the film.
Nice.
Wow,
and
nice job, Mark.
Thank you. And then lastly, there is a new TV series that's being developed in Providence, Rhode Island, where I'm from.
Hey.
A period piece set in the early 60s about President Jack Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy trying to put out the New England crime family headed by Raymond Patriarchus Sr. And so, ironically, another Trinity alum, friend of mine that I saw 4 weeks ago, put me into contact with his good buddy, who's the showrunner and producer on the project. And I've been introduced, and again, no official offer, but things are in the works. That pilot's getting developed. Michael Carenti's attached. Scott Kahn's attached, ironically. And so those are the three things in the works so far.
Mark, that is so exciting, my friend. We are so excited to have you here today, man. If you're everybody who hasn't watched Mark yet, go on IMDb, watch him, pull him up, follow his career. You saw it first locally here, Team Powerhouse, the Powercast. Today is what? What's the date today? Today is the
29th.
November 30th, right?
November 30th.
2021. Here we have a special guest, Mark Doherty, an actor, a great guy, and somebody that is going to be making big things happen. And we're so grateful for you to take the time to spend with us here.
So I'm grateful to Team Powerhouse, and I want to thank you all for having me on the podcast. I really do appreciate it very much, and it's free PR for me. I can't afford a publicist at this point, so it's wonderful. It's very generous of you.
We will absolutely hope to have you back here more than once. I know there are a lot of people watching right here, people you've worked with, people you know, people who follow you, and this is going to go out all over social media. People are going to see this, and it just gets people to know you on a more intimate level. And this is an amazing thing you've done for us today, and for yourself, and for our team.
Your fan club's going to grow, hopefully.
It's definitely going to help us out for sure, and your fan club as well. By the way, Mark Doherty.
It grew by one.
Mark
Totally
Doherty is on Instagram. He doesn't publicize it, but what is your screen name, if you will, on Instagram?
Yeah, and so it's important for me to mention. I'm not a big social media person, but I do have a small feed on IG. It's at Mark Doherty NYC. So at MarkDoherty NYC. All
right, everybody. We want to thank you so much for being here today with us. We want to thank you very much for Heather Knotts with these beautiful tumblers, as always.
Thank you.
And I have now spinning wheel to see who's going to be the winner of the new tumbler for our newest guest coming out.
Trish Plumpton.
Trish, congratulations on receiving your tumbler. We're excited to send it to you. Please make contact with us so we can get in touch with the details for you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being on the show, watching us here live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. You were awesome.
Thanks
Eric,
for joining us, everybody.
What an amazing experience, huh?
Yeah, awesome.
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
Have a great night, guys, and thanks for staying on the show so long tonight.